last 3 days. We started on Sunday with a golf tournament. And the theme for this year's summit is digital economy, endless opportunity shaping our future. And the discussions have been centered around how we can take advantage of the opportunities in the digital space to grow our economy and leapfrog our country going forward. We have therefore held a number of conversations, but most critically, the tone was set earlier on Monday by our leaders, led by the Prime Cabinet Secretary, our Cabinet Secretary in Ministry of Information, Communication and Digital Economy, and our two principal secretaries there. We have had a number of governors in different sessions. We have had Parliament very well represented, and also, of course, our partners and industry players. So we have deliberated on a number of issues. First, I think from a regional level, we have discussed how then Kenya can become a hub for trade enabled by ICT. We have also looked at the collaboration that we need to put in place between the two levels of government and other partners for us to be able to achieve the digital economy. And a number of critical issues came out during our county forum, including the issues of harmonizing our county laws to support laying of infrastructure, and also how we support the critical devolved functions like health. We've also discussed in length the issues of data protection and cybersecurity, because as we increase access online and provide services, those issues of data privacy will become more pronounced, and we have discussed some of the interventions that we need to take from a policy, legal perspective, but also how we design and build technology. Waziri, we also had interesting engagements on one of the emerging areas on e-waste management, because we have an explosion now of gadgets and devices that are becoming a nuisance in our country and indeed in the region. We also have been engaging the private sector and our development partners on how we can work together to effectively utilize investments from the private sector and the government to reach more citizens from an impact perspective. And one thing that we have agreed, the government is going to provide the required platform from a legal and policy framework, and the government is also going to do the hard work of increasing reach and creating the infrastructure for the public, for the private sector to come and plug in. The issue of funding also have been discussed in these forums, where we have explored opportunities for us to work together so that every single shilling that is spent, regardless of whether it's coming from private sector or public sector, in any case, we agreed that this money is coming from the same citizens. We then use it towards achieving our goals and avoid duplications of effort. As we come to a close, we shall also be showcasing innovations. And we are very deliberate on the area of innovation, Waziri. So we have discussed how we support innovations at the county level all the way to the ward level. And indeed, today we have a number of innovations which we'll be showcasing later. That is just but a brief highlight of the discussions that have happened here today, this week. And we really hope that we should be able to have actionable items that will then, take forward in this space. With those few remarks, allow me to invite Engineer John Tanui, our Principal Secretary, to come and welcome our CS.
Thank you, Stanley. Our CS, Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Honorable Moses Kuria, the Chair of the Board of ICT Authority, CEO, the board members, captains of industry, our members of parliament who are here, the senators, good morning. CS, we are quite excited to have you here. My colleague, CEO, has shared what has transpired over the week. It's been a very engaging moment for us to meet with the industry. This has been our most premier event in the sector for the last 12 years. I think we only missed twice because of COVID. So this has a long history. Some of the great things we have in the sector, including Huduma, the eCitizen, Presidential Digital Talent Program, and many others originated from conversations which were held here. We believed also the days we have spent here this week are going to be part of our history in the future. A number of things will come here, and we are very excited to have CS here because he's a great champion of this sector. I can personally testify of that from the days I joined Consa Technopolis. He's one of the people who would call me and discuss some key issues and challenge me why I'm not taking this option or this option, and he would go out of his way and recommend people I should meet or people I should hear and learn from them, and I want to thank you for that you supported. And over the years now, you've been very good champion for this sector, and now you are in charge of industry, trade, and investment. This sector needs you. Even probably you are in the right place to support our sector, CS, and we are ready to listen to you. Here we have technology partners, we have top tech companies who are here, they are CEOs. We have also our Kenyan entrepreneurs, which you have always challenged me to see which are these companies you can champion. You would wish when you travel yourself or with the president of the region, you'd want to see champions. Many of them are here and are potential. We also have professionals. Personally, I've benefited from these programs as an engineer in the sector, and as I rose in the management, this summit played a role. So we have many professionals here who are also looking at how to grow their careers, and in the public sector and also in the private sector. We also have our legislators who play a key role in this sector, and these are the team who are here. So we are very honored, Wasiri, to have you here this morning. So without much ado, it's my honor and pleasure to invite our CS. Let's welcome him.
Thank you, Principal Secretary for ICT, Mr. John Tanui, the Chairman of the Board, my good friend and colleague, Silvana Maritim, CEO, Stanley Kamunguya, captains of industries, members of the National Assembly, members of the Senate, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am delighted to be here today. I have always followed up on the other connected case, but I think this one comes with an extra dose of energy, and I'm liking what I'm hearing, the brief that I've received about the topics that were covered in the first 2 days. First of all, let me bring to you the support and the commitment of the government under President William Ruto to growing this sector. And it's something that I keep saying. Our oil and our gold is our technology as a country. So we're not here by mistake, and we're not here by accident. We are here because we believe that using technology, we can be able to leapfrog over so many other, even developed countries. And all we need to do is to dare to dream, and we'll get there. If John Michuki, the late, and God rest his soul, was a conservative, would we have M-Pesa today? The answer is no. So here comes another opportunity for us to dare to dream. And as Lester Doro wrote, fortune favors the bold. Unless we are bold, then luck will keep evading us. I am also here today because I consider myself as one of you. Many years ago, when I joined the banking industry, I specialized in management of technology through business processes. And I had an interesting career in that sector. At one point, I'll tell you a story. I used to be a business analyst at a certain bank. And I was so much interested in coding. I was not very good in coding, but I was always, amazed by coding. So like the way you would be left with your father's toys and you start playing around with them, one time my developer went home and left me with the system. And I actually tried to code. It was a platform. How many of you, let me see how old this crowd is. How many of you knew of a certain coding platform known as DataEase? Very few. That shows that I'm soon joining the League of Ancestors. So how we used to know a good developer those days is something we used to call balancing of the brackets. So you have got 7 brackets on the right. So if you have got 6 on the left, then there's a problem. So you have to keep seeing where you got it wrong. So anyway, it was a bank, and we were developing something for payments. And there's this thing that had really defeated us about how to treat cross-currency transactions. And Beryl, I remember Beryl Atieno was my developer. She went home and she told me, now if you want to sleep in the office, shauri yako. So I tried and tried and tried for this formula, and somehow it couldn't. So it was late, and of course, those days in the beginning of our careers, you don't have a car. So I went and I took a matatu and I was going home. Before I got home, the formula came to my mind. And I alighted from the matatu and I went back to the office. And I got it right, I actually got it right, and Beryl was amazed the following day. Anyway, I am a tech enthusiast, and I went out of there to work in several countries. At one point, I was a head of technology projects for the biggest Islamic bank in the world, and the only non-Muslim who was allowed to present technology products before the Sharia Committee, which is the apex governing body for Islamic banking. The only non-Christian who was allowed to do that because nobody else could do it. But the epitome of what I consider my career in this US sector is after many years in banking, I joined the consulting world. And I was based in Dubai, and I was selling technology for several companies, most of them European companies and American companies. And there is this company from Germany that my company was representing. It was for remote management of desktops For those of you who assume things were the way they are today, we have come from far. So this company, it was called Matrix 42 from Frankfurt. So I was representing them in the Middle Eastern Africa. And I sold quite some installations. But the biggest win for me is when I managed to close a sale for a remote desktop management software to Wipro. And I said, someone asked me, how can you sell milk to a cow? How do you manage to sell software to an Indian company? That one will still remain on my CV. Plus, of course, many other things that we did also in this market. I was among the first team that introduced utility payments via ATMs. ATM was the highest level of automation you could do, way before the mobile phone. I was in the team that brought the electronic fund transfer, MICL for check clearing, and also what now became RTGS as you know it today. So it's been interesting. I also didn't mention that in the 1990s, when I was in the beginning of my career in banking, all government payroll, I don't know, John, if it has changed, but all government payroll used to be managed from a big mainframe system that was sitting somewhere in Herufi House. And actually, I remember because that machine, it used to heat up, and you have to open the doors and the windows for the air to come in, so that it can be able to process payroll. And that time, civil servants are waiting for their salaries, yeah. And the most difficult civil servants were the teachers, because you are somewhere in Bugoma, and the teacher has gone to the bank, and the money is not there because the mainframe machine. I actually remember the mainframe machine was actually bought on the same year that I was born. Yeah, we were age mates with the machine. And here it has refused. So we have to give it time. Everybody out, let there be air, the windows and doors open, and the bank manager is now calling me from Bugoma and telling me, what do I do? Teachers are here, and you know that the problem with the teachers that they have gone to pick their salary, and they are riding on a bicycle, and there's a jerry can for paraffin, because all that has to be done on the same day. And here the system has refused to work. So, Ian Rorimer, my Scottish boss that time, challenged me, told me, you have achieved many things. Why can't you just crack this one? So I talked to some companies, NCL that time, for those who found NCL in the market, and ICL, for those who found ICL in the market. Those are the only companies which were there in that space, only two companies. So if you do a tender, it's either NCL or ICL. So I gave them the challenge, can't we come up with some innovation to actually, transfer this to PC? Remember that time, that is the year 1996 and 97, 98 there around, and we've just, the biggest technological innovation was Windows 95. Windows 95 has been launched. So anyway, to cut a long story short, so we tried, and finally, NCR promised to deliver a machine from the US, which can, you remember the payroll that time, that machine, the output was those reel-to-reel tapes. I don't know, many of you may never even have found them. For those of us who are from my generation, we used to see them in the Kenya Film I've seen the Kenya Film Corporation, I think they are somewhere here. So those, those tapes of film, watoto ketini chini, that was the same output that government payroll was, and we managed to convert it to very intelligent format called ASCII. And it was a big achievement for us to convert from real to real into ASCII. And therefore, that became the beginning of when government payroll in Kenya moved to PC system. And by the way, I had to get, government could not fund that whole project because of, they said that donors were somebody was eyeing some money from donors. So they said, I told them, no, I don't have to wait for donors. So I got KCB, I got Barclays, and I got Standard Chartered Bank where I was working to fund that project. And still some people were resisting. Anyway, we can talk about technology until cows come home. Let me tell you what I'm doing now that I'm the Minister for Investment, Trade and Industry. Now, we are doing several things, first of all, in terms of tech leadership from my ministry. First of all is on the area of digital trade. And in all the agreements, in all the bilateral negotiations that we are taking through, digital trade and e-commerce is now a must. We are discussing it within the East African community. We are discussing it within COMESA. We are discussing it within Africa Continental Free Trade area. We are now negotiating. We put it within our agenda for our economic partnership agreement with the UK. We are discussing it under the Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership with the US. It is one of the topics with the UAE, with whom we are negotiating right now. And it is one of the topics also with the European Union, which we are just about to sign anytime now. Other than that, we are hoping that by Madaraka Day, His Excellency the President is going to launch our commodities exchange, COMEX. And this is going to have a profound impact on the way we do business in this country. And not just in this country, but also in this region. So you can imagine that now, in another 8 weeks or so, somebody from Mwea in Kirinyaga can be able to go to online and say, I have got so many tons of rice. And somebody from Kisumu is going to go online and order for that rice. And using our warehouse receipt system, we trade the receipts on the commodities exchange the same way we trade our shares. And then somebody, once they buy from the exchange, somebody else with their truck goes to Mwea, to the warehouse, picks the rice, delivers it to Kisumu, and business is going to be done within this country by people who have never known each other and who don't need to know each other. That is the power of technology, and that's what we are doing. So that's a for us, very important way in which my ministry is adopting technology. Last week, for those who are in the AmCham meeting, we also announced the partnership we are doing with some companies. We're talking to Microsoft and other companies to actually automate the process for engaging businesses and investors in this country through the Kenya Investment Authority One-Stop Center. This system, which we are calling PASHA, and which I am going to work with you, John, to ensure that all these people are registered on PASHA. Because unless we know where they are, then how can we be able to help them? How can we be able to support them? Because right now, we are scattered all over. And using this PASHA system, we are hoping that we can be able to put things together. Those are just but some of the very few things that we are doing as a ministry in support of this journey of digital transformation. So how do I see us working together? I see us working together in several ways, ladies and gentlemen. One of the things I don't like, and I've been challenging John way before he was PS, when he was a CEO at Konza, and I was a member of the ICT committee in the 11th Parliament. And by the way, John forgot to tell you that all the money that has gone to Konza, I was a champion #1 for driving that money. Unajua binadamu ni wa kusahau. John, I forgive you. I thought you'll tell these people that I robbed for you up to 11 billion shillings. Yeah, Stanley is aware here, you know, and Sylvanus, you know also the work we did also in the 12th Parliament. So when I was in my formative years, I spent a lot of time. I used to have an office, a business at Dubai Internet City, and that's where my support for Konza came from, because way back then, I was from 2014. It was clear to me that we could take leadership in this tech space, and I worked with John and I worked with Bitange Demo to put the foundation for what is Konza today. But we need to do much more. If gold and oil for this country is technology, then we are not doing extremely well. In Saudi Arabia, where I spent close to a decade, if you discover oil, just one drop of oil in your house, you are taken to court and you are charged with trespassing on government property. Because you are asked, how come you went to build your house there? Didn't you know that there is oil there? And oil belongs to the government and the government only. Because that is their lifeline. And if our lifeline is technology, then we need to do much more to organize and structure ourselves to take advantage of our oil and our gold, that's our technology. And I really want to see a situation whereby we structure this along several lines. Let's start with the most basic one, the one that pains me most. Talent. We need to do much better to manage our talent. Yesterday, I was in Embu County in an expo, and I found these wonderful kids. One of them has got some technology for predicting diseases for crops, something that we need. Another one had technology for testing or for analyzing soil acidity. Another one had this technology for managing gadgets, including putting on and off the right remote, blah, blah, blah. It's all over. Then I said, who knows these kids? Where are they? I remember there was some lady from Safaricom, and she was talking about Safaricom taking leadership of Internet of Things. And I was telling her, the things are these ones. These are the things. Don't go and look for things elsewhere. That Internet of Things, Kenya way, these are the things. And I want to challenge you as a sector leader, let's take, you are all here because you are so lucky to have gone through that funnel. Can you imagine, in agriculture, I talk about post-harvest losses. Yeah? For every 8 mangoes that leave the farm, only 2 make it to the market. That's post-harvest losses. And we are doing a lot of stuff, building up aggregation centers, industrial parks, to be able to stop the post-harvest losses on mangoes and avocados, on tomatoes, and stuff like that. So that one I will do. What about the post-harvest losses in the tech world? Who is going to do something, John? I'm doing something about mangoes and tomatoes. Can you please do something to stop the post-harvest losses in our talent? Because you can imagine, from 10 talented people out there, how many make it to connected KE? I'm not saying you're not smart, but I'm saying there are more smarter people out there than you who are not fortunate enough to get the connection to make it here. And if in Saudi Arabia you're accused of building on government land, if you find oil, can we criminalize having any talent out there that is not harnessed and that is not given an opportunity to become the next Microsoft and the next Meta and the next Google in the world? How do you know? And that's why we've agreed with the Ministry of ICT and Ministry of Education that we talk about the Silicon Savannah. And Ambassador Meg Whitman, my good friend, has challenged us on to take advantage of Silicon Savannah. So we've agreed that from primary school to secondary school to colleges to universities to villages, we are going to have Silicon Savannah clubs from all those levels. And I want you to invite me, John, to launch the Mulot Silicon Savannah Club. Because if we have these clubs, we used to have 4K clubs for agriculture. So the Silicon Savannah clubs are going to be the equivalent of the 4K clubs, so that we are able to identify these talents right from primary schools. We killed everything that used to help us to harness talent. The science congresses, I don't hear of them anymore. So save yourself first, save your world, save technology. Let's have this Silicon Savannah club so that we can be able to move there and to structure and to harness our talent and to ensure that no single talented kids, you don't have to be rich, you don't have to have rich parents, they don't have to take you to a coding boot camp. Most of you can afford for your kids. But even for that kid, son of a farmer who has no shoes, let's work together to give that kid an opportunity, because who knows, that could be the next Bill Gates, who we are wasting. So as we sit here and we enjoy this wonderful gathering, let's all work together to ensure that those kids out there who don't have the same opportunity or lack, that also they have, they are part of that. So that's about structuring talent. After we structure talent, I want us to structure businesses. And there is a lot of fragmentation of tech businesses. Today, I can't tell you who are the software companies, who are the infrastructure companies, who are the security companies, who are the business intelligence companies. So because there's no one single way of recognizing these businesses. So again, I've instructed the Kenya Investment Authority to work with John and the team at ICT to ensure that we, as Kenya Investment Authority, invites you so that we know you register with us, so that when I'm asked we want to support software companies, I know where you are. Sasa hata tukitaka kuwasaidia, tutawasaidia mko wapi? I think, there's a lot of disorder in this sector. And John, let's work together really to structure, and I'm not saying just small, I'm saying startups, I'm saying ongoing businesses, I'm talking about multinationals, and I actually challenged multinationals last week and they responded very well. Let's all come together as government and the private sector so that we are not saying we register you so that we regulate you. I don't know why you still fear government. We are not for regulation. We are registering you so that I know this is company X, it is in software, this is company Y, it is in infrastructure, so that tomorrow maybe there's an opportunity. Maybe I need to have a discussion. Maybe I need to work with you. In the month of February, I visited 12 heads of state from Africa, East, Central and Southern Africa. And 6 or 7 countries, heads of state told me, we want you to bring your tech companies to help us in our digital takeoff. Today, if I ask John, who are these tech companies, even John will struggle to know who are these tech companies, because some of them, it's not just the big companies that we know. So, if you are a tech, you are in charge of data. I have data on agriculture, I have data on exporters, I have data on manufacturers, I don't have data on tech. Who are the owners of data? How ironical can that be? So let charity begins at home. Be structured. That data you're selling to others, I will tell them, before you buy any data or any technology from Kenyan companies, ask them how well structured they are themselves as an industry. Because you are applying data and structures everywhere. You help us to make our businesses efficient and cost effective. Why can charity begin at home? I don't know where to go to get software companies, to get hardware companies, to get infrastructure companies, to get BI and security companies. Let it start right here and let charity begins at home. So that's now on structuring businesses. After we structure talent and we structure businesses, Let us now move to the issue of finance. And by the way, let me tell you something. There is no problem of finance in this country. We don't have a problem of money in this country. We don't have a problem of capital. Next time you go to conferences such as this, don't ever again say, tuko na shida ya capital. There is no problem. The problem is that lack of structure. Because there's a lot of people moving out there. They're telling me, now when I move to the world, I've been 5 months as minister. In those 5 months, I've been to 23 countries talking to investors and looking for markets. The number one area of interest in Kenya, of course, is renewable energy. The number two is technology. There is a lot of interest there to invest in technology, to fund technology, to establish businesses here which are technology driven. So money is there. Money, you cannot say problem is money. So if we structure talent and we structure our businesses, we become more transparent and more visible and more formalized in the way we approach it. Money will come. And I'm working with one of my state corporations, the Kenya Development Corporation. You used to know it as ICDC before we merged it with the Tourism Finance Corporation and the Industrial Development Bank. And what we are doing at KDC is that we are setting up the first tech fund that is government run in this country. And that is happening imminently now. So if you get structured and you want equity investors, ask me. I have them through the fund. This is not just a government fund. By the way, government contribution in that fund is going to be 0.0001%. The rest of the money is crowdsourced. It is a platform for, we are working with World Bank to put together that platform for equity, for debt, even some component for grants for purposes of skills development. And so that now we form this partnership. So me, I have the money. You just innovate. You just create businesses. Look at the frontiers and ask me for the money. Are you ready? Mko tayari? Very good. I think I'm talking to Masonko hapa wahitaji pesa. But it's okay. So the other area is actually on structuring innovation. Because also innovation is all over. It is like abandoned children out there, who leave people to their own devices. I have been talking to universities, and I have lost count of the number of innovations which our kids develop. Then XYZ big companies, including, by the way, multinationals, they go and talk to these kids, and these kids just give their innovation, no patents, nothing. They just give it for a bowl of soup. And this is not acceptable to me. So I've also instructed another state corporation within my ministry, the Kenya Industrial Property Institute, KIPI, you all know KIPI. And I've told KIPI, I don't want innovators to come and look for us in Nairobi. I've asked them from next week, they are going around all the universities, picking up all the innovations and giving them trademarks right there at the university level. Yeah, instead of waiting for them there. So that now the discussion between the innovator and the entrepreneur can be a more balanced one. Because right now it's not a balanced one. It is one guy is there, big guy, strong guy, that is the entrepreneur. The innovator is down there, and the innovator has got no freedom of choice. He has no freedom to say no. Now what I want to do is to empower that innovator so that we can also have some voice on the table. Yeah, because if you don't put these people on the table to discuss, to be part of that discussion on our takeoff, on how we take forward our digital transformation, they will be there, but as part of the menu. And today, they are not on the table, they are on the menu, because you guys are chewing them mercilessly. Finally, is on the issue of the business environment. And last week, the president made some, historical, earth-shaking, groundbreaking announcement. Sometimes I don't think governments are lucky, because I don't think we were given the recognition we ought to have been given. Some of the things that have really hampered tech investment in this country, within a 20-minute speech by the president, were knocked off. Take, for example, I've seen the logo of AWS here, and all the other people who have been talking about the 30% ownership rule. And I'm happy our parliamentarians are here, because next week our ICT ministry with my ministry are sending the proposals to Parliament to remove this regulation for the 30%. If you are Kamau and Wekesa company, and you formed your company hoping that you are going to be the local partner, the local shareholder for Google, too bad for you. It will not happen. It is not possible, because that is not where the world is headed. The world is headed into an area where we have got a liberal environment for investment. The issue of tax, withholding tax for and VAT for, and actually even excise duty for export of services, we are sending proposals to Parliament through the finance bill to get rid of that, so that if you are here in Nairobi or Mombasa and you want to do business in Tanzania, right now what's happening is that when you get paid, we are taxing you because of exporting that service. So that's really coming to an end, and all this plus all the other bottlenecks that the president announced last week is so that you can be able to create a conducive environment that is going to continue attracting investment in this gold and oil that is our technology. And then it's on the issue of our infrastructure. The program that John and Eliud in the ministry are rolling out with ICTA of 100,000 kilometers of fiber is unprecedented. And you are in the industry, go to any country, probably South Korea or something like that. So it's going to place Kenya on the map, firmly on the map. But we are not going to depend on government financing to take off this huge connectivity project, for two reasons. One, because it's not the right thing to do. This is one area where the private sector needs to take lead, and I'm going to ensure that we create a mechanism where the private sector can be able to undertake this project. Government's role should be regulatory, supervisory, enabling, and policy making. That is the role of government. The other reason is because we have no money. Yeah, even if we wanted to, we don't have money, the kind of money to be able to take off this project. So I want to invite those of you who want to take part in this project. We have agreed that we are going to make money available on equity basis or debt basis, whether it is in manufacturing or fiber, whether it is in those people who are going to actually be doing the civil works. Once you go to John and John gives you the contract, John will send you to me, and I'll ensure that you have the money. You don't have to go and get frustrated by our banks. And you know what has been happening? I have talked to our partners, our development finance institutions, most of which are working with KDC to make this money available. And I want to challenge banks, the commercial banks. I want to work with all of you, and I will put you together so that we can be able to work together. But there's a conversation we have to change. A bank goes out there and says, you know, I want to fund the tech startups in Kenya. I want to fund those people who are in the digital transformation, who are manufacturing fiber, who are doing the civil works. So give me money, I go and lend to them. So Mr. Velvet Hart of a development institution out there gives money at 1%, even 2%. Then the bank comes here and gives you that money at 18%. If it was money from, let's say, deposit mobilization for which they are paying, if it's expensive money, I can understand. But money that was given by DFIs and other partners, ostensibly to take off our digital transformation. Then you come and you take the money 1%, you rate the money at 17%. How different are you from that person who goes on television, televangelists in the US, ask for donation for clothes and food for those children dying in Africa? And then you go to Mutindoa and you sell Gikomba and you sell the clothes. There's no difference. There's no difference between you and somebody who is getting ARVs to give to people who are dying and you come and sell it. Getting money cheaply and not giving that money at the terms for which those people who gave the money intended is criminal, is unethical, is morally wrong, it is indefensible. And that's a story I want to change by ensuring that government through our own DFI is in the middle of that conversation to ensure that money that is intended for you actually gets to you and actually helps us in our takeoff. So with those not very few words, let me take this opportunity to thank John and the team and to congratulate all of you and tell you that Kenya is actually on a takeoff. So you are either part of it ama ukae kando kando. Kama gari yako haisongi, odoa jam tusonge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Waziri. I think really it was timely to have you today, because over and above the other issues that we have been discussing, you have really given us a new dimension of how we need to address the issue of technology going forward. We particularly welcome the idea to establish the Innovation Fund. It is indeed an area that we have been struggling, and you have captured it very well, how our innovators are selling out their innovations to foreigners, so cheaply, when we should be getting value from them. We also appreciate your ideas around collaboration with KIPI, because again, that is an area that the technology space has been struggling with from an IP perspective. We think that we cannot talk about the digital economy without working with you as the CS for investments and trade, because while this area is heavy in investments, you have actually made it so simple and provided guidance in terms of how we can structure these investments. We thank you very much. I now want to invite Jeff to pick up the program from there.
Interesting. There's never a round of applause for the MC when he comes back on stage. Thank you so much for that, and of course a very insightful speech into that particular regard. And CS Kuria, you're absolutely correct. Kuna masonko wengi pana hapo nyuma, but CEO will give you my number. Unaweza cheza kama wewe kwa M-Pesa yangu. Do what you need to do. I'll leave it entirely up to you. But of course it touches on a raft of issues, even as CS, from talent to structure, to capital and deal flows, and how that's working, and how we can actually try and level the playing field when it comes to that whole David and Goliath issue of intellectual property. How do innovators feel safe when they get to the deal table and they don't have the patents that they need to actually negotiate from a position of strength? So very key issues discussed there, and very interesting and pertinent as well, because our next speaker has been in all of those spaces, has worn all of those hats as well. I'm talking about business executive, techpreneur. He's also a television personality. You've seen him there as well, as he's structured and invested in certain companies. Let's please welcome on stage our speaker, Christian Anu. Round of applause for him, please.
Honorable CS, Honorable PS, Board Chair, CEO, Senators present, MPs, fellow CEOs from the tech industry, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Very honored to be here today to give this context-setting keynote for the session that's about to happen. I think Bwana CS has done such a great job also, just bringing to light some of the very bare knuckle truths of what's happening in the tech industry, especially for tech startups. And as the world moves digital and disrupts all our lives and what we do and how we do business, there's nothing more appropriate and timely than such conversations. We live in a time of digital disruption in which people, businesses, and industries are being transformed by this rapid technological advancement. From social media to what we are doing in artificial intelligence, this revolution is affecting every aspect of our lives, changing the way we work, the way we communicate, and the way we do business, most importantly. Therefore, understanding how the companies that are successful are actually doing it, what they have done to adapt, what they've done to be thriving, then becomes very important. The digital economy in Africa is rapidly growing and has the potential, of course, to transform the continent's economy. And one statistic that is very important for all of us in this room today is that IFC's valued the digital economy at 180 billion, but more importantly, not the 180 that it is today, the trajectory or the projections are that by 2025, we're looking at around $800 billion. However, despite this growth, African entrepreneurs still face significant challenges. And the first one is always cited as access to funding. And so when the CSA is putting together a fund, and very little of it is government is going to be crowdsourced, that is music to my ears, and that is music to the ears for a lot of entrepreneurs. As an investor in the tech industry, the one thing that I've always told people is that there is no lack of innovations. There is no lack of creativity. There's no lack of entrepreneurs wanting to go out there, start businesses and create jobs and create growth companies that can pay taxes and grow our economy. But that lack of credit has been one of the things that has prevented it. Obviously, sometimes we've lacked the infrastructure. Sometimes it's the poor regulatory environment. But the more critical factor is that only 20% of the businesses that start, the startups in general, have access to proper formal credit and the right licenses to operate. And this, of course, is changing very fast with the digital platforms and systems that we have for affording credit and for giving people licenses. In the past also, particularly our creative industry has been overlooked as a major contributor to the African economy. However, we've seen that creative industries are changing dramatically. Why? Because of the digital platforms and the digital technology. These technologies have enabled new forms of storytelling, content creation, and content consumption, because gone are the days when you waited for a program to come at a particular time that you have to consume from your TV in your living rooms. Last year alone, $177 billion was spent on film, on gaming, and animation production around the world. 177 billion. And I'm asking, or I'm saying, I believe 1% of this belongs to Kenya. 1% of this pie is $1.7 billion. I believe this belongs to Kenya. So the question becomes, what steps must we take in order to attract just 1% of $177 billion of this production? I know Netflix and a couple of content platforms have begun production here, but the question is, Can we accelerate that? Because the creative industry has a lot of potential to bring us opportunities. And because of the digital platforms, we can do this. In 2022, African startups raised 3.2 billion in funding. 3.2 billion in funding. Then the question becomes, if the entrepreneurs are there and the funding is there, for Africa in general, how is Kenya positioned, or how are we positioning ourselves in order to take advantage of this? African enterprises are increasingly attracting significant investment to launch and scale their businesses using the digital tools and platforms, with startups in sectors, of course, such as fintech, edtech, health tech. And I am informed reliably by my significant other that there's also nail tech coming. And so the ladies are not being left out on the other side of the game in terms of the cosmetics and the beauty industry. Success in the digital era requires a thorough understanding of the African ecosystem's unique opportunities and challenges, as well as a commitment to innovation and collaboration. We can't do this by ourselves. We can't do it by being an island. We have to collaborate and partner. African businesses and creative industries must use digital technologies to drive growth, to create jobs, and improve our livelihoods around the continent. I believe it is our time. I believe data is what will drive us to the next level. We have a lot of information. We need to do the analysis that is necessary, but we are totally ready to take up this digital era and put Africa at the frontier of the world map. Thank you, and have a lovely day.
Thank you so much. One more round of applause for Chris, setting the stage. And nail techs are not just the preserve of the women, Chris. They're equal opportunity service providers. So those of the male persuasion, they are ready to serve. Let's move on to the panel discussion now. I'd like to invite Andrew Lewala. He's the Chief Executive Officer at Kenik to lead us through the discussion on corporate success strategies in the digital era. Round of applause for him.
Thank you, Victoria. 6 years ago to the day, it was a day like today, last day of the conference. We were preparing for the gala night. I was very excited. I chose to go dancing at the beach without my shoes. Unfortunately, after a few drinks, I must commit, I've stopped drinking now, I lost my shoes. And in the morning, I was meant to catch a flight back to Nairobi. I had only one pair. I wear size 12. I could not find a replacement in Diani. I took the bus to Mombasa. I flew back to Nairobi barefoot. So I'm celebrating that anniversary today, and that's why I'm barefoot. And sorry, Stanley, the cheerleader at ICTA, I hope it does not lower the standard of the conference. But also, 30 years ago, my mom prophesied, I will be an evangelist. I protested. I went and did science, maths and physics. I went into computing. But currently, I'm the Chief Evangelist Officer at Kenik. I sell .ke domains. So how right my mom was, I will still evangelize. So today we have an exciting panel, and allow me to call to the stage our panelists to discuss what I believe the Waziri has set the tone very well, and my friend Chris Nanu has also extrapolated on that. So we'll have a few questions and hopefully bring in the plenary to add their voices. Without further ado, I'll call to the front from the Kenya Film, Timothy Karibu. From the Media Council of Kenya, Bwana David Karibu Sana. We have from the editorial board, what used to be called the Kenya Yearbook, Madam Debo Willis, please. Representing the startup ecosystem, the SMEs, entrepreneurs, we have Eric. We have from the banks, the KCB, and Waziri was very brutal a bit there, Grace, who is also heading products there. We have Alfred also joining us from the regulator, and I'll be moderating that panel. Is Alfred? He's making his way. I hope you can hear us loud and clear. Excellent. So we'll get right to it. The panel was dubbed Corporate Success Strategies in the Digital Era. I believe we are all in agreement that the hypothesis question, which is digital transformation the key to business survival? There's a loud answer. Indeed, it is. Yes. And if it is yes, what should we pay attention to? So we'd like to sort of hear from the panelists, their voices along the sectors they represent, on the big question. We hope that in this panel we'll meet three objectives. The first one, stimulate a conversation around where the opportunities lie. And thank you, PS. Yesterday, I think you started enumerating some of the opportunities. And Waziri has also painted a good picture. Number two, what are some of those trends post-pandemic that we see the trajectory for the digital era present? And finally, we'd like to also hear your voices on how do we stay agile, adaptable, and innovative. It's good to say we want to do these things. Can we do it sustainably? It's a question that also the Prime Cabinet Secretary posed to us. So I'll allow my team to, within 60 seconds, introduce themselves, what sectors they represent, and then we'll go straight into a quick fire question and answer. I'll start to my extreme left, please. I hope the microphones are all in order.
Yes, good morning. Yes, my name, as you heard, is Alfred Ambani from the Communications Authority of Kenya. I am working in the department that does the licensing and regulation of multimedia services, broadcasting as is commonly known. And the authority, of course, is the regulator for the ICT sector. It's more of a facilitator, and that is what we do as our vision of transforming a country into a digitally transformed nation. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am Eric Odipo from Silicon Overdrive, Business Development Lead. At Silicon Overdrive, we assist customers and organizations in their digital transformation strategies, in particular, cloud strategies. Our key partner in that is Amazon Web Services. Among the industries we work with are startups, SMEs, enterprise, and also the public sector. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Timothy Oase. I'm the Chief Storyteller at Kenya Film Commission, whose vision is to position Kenya as a global hub for film and TV production. Our mission is to market Kenya as a filming destination. And before I proceed, allow me to appreciate C.S. Kuria as being a great storyteller based on his presentation this morning. Tumpigie makofi. CS Kuria talked about nurturing talent, and that is at the heart of Kenya Film Commission. So in line with the theme for this year at the Connected Summit, digital economy, endless opportunities for shaping our future, I just want to say that we are connected to this theme 100% because our role at the Kenya Film Commission is to ignite the screen sector, which covers gaming, animation, and filming. This is because when you talk about technology, digital economy, you think about the creation of storytelling, management, think about distribution and how we consume content. So we are going to discuss this as we progress. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is David Omoyo, CEO of the Media Council of Kenya. We regulate the unregulatable, the people who, when you tell them tumetoka kwa barabara kidogo, wanakuita threat to press freedom. But we keep doing it because we have a duty to do that, and we appreciate the pressure that comes back and forth. Waziri, thanks for support during the last parliament. I like the stories you said. You forgot to say the day in 2018 tulikuwa Kisumu, ukaniambia tuende tupakue viatu rangi, nikajipata mahali nikatoroka nikakuacha. I will say something about it. Anyway, thanks very much, and we hope to share about tech and the media and how we have moved from circulation to eyeballs. The people who saw the stories, the money you get, not the number of stories you write or papers you print. Thanks.
Hamjambo nyote. My name is Debo Willis. I am a Mandela Washington Fellow, currently serving as the digital lead at the editorial board of the Ministry of Information, Communication, and the Digital Economy. What we do at the board, I think we have a visual representation of it. Everyone has this broadsheet. This is one of our publications. I'm excited being in this panel, seeing that we had to adapt as well, and also focus on both legacy and new media in regards to publication. We inform the public of how government agenda affects them. So thank you for having me.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Grace Wanjambogwa, KCB Bank Group. I'm the executive lead for products and solutions. As you know, from a KCB Bank perspective, we cover the retail side, so from consumers to corporates to government, and working towards our refined vision of for people for better. We are on a journey, and ours is to make sure that wherever we come from, whether it is a fellow staff member, a stakeholder, a customer, they come out better. So for people for better. Waziri, thank you for, I must appreciate Waziri. He constantly challenges us. And I have a lot of respect for you, Waziri, in terms of your passion for solutions. I think that have enabled a lot happen in this country in a very short time. So, in fact, I thought you'd be harsher, but thank you. Thank you.
Right to it then. Grace, unfortunately you're next to me and you said Waziri has been kind to you. So my first question to KCB, you develop products. What philosophy then do you use to support this sector? And I think Waziri challenged us. Then how will you improve the business environment and the customer journey in terms of understanding digital and supporting digital?
Thank you, Andrew. That's a bit of a tough one, I must confess, especially because, as most of you know, we are what most people would consider a traditional business, right? So we have always known that we keep money, we give loans, we do your payments, and that's our going concern. But as time has moved on, we found ourselves in a different space. We have had to think very, very differently, very, very quickly. Because a couple of things are shifting. So I don't know if it's we don't have a single philosophy, but let me try and do in 2 minutes what it is and the approach we're using. So right now, I think as you've all seen, we have a shifting customer. The customer is younger. Me, I'm more of the customer of the day and age, but the younger one is coming. They're more technological savvy. They are more loyal to their needs than to brands. A lot of us older ones were loyal to brands. They're not loyal to brands. They want frictionless. They the attention span is limited with technology. So that is what we're dealing with going forward. And one of the questions you ask ourselves is that sustainable into the future? Can what we do today take us into the future with this new customer? And this customer is beginning to run businesses, is sitting in this room, and is the future of the country and the region. So that is a key aspect we have to remember, changing customer. So back to for people, for better. So that's one of the philosophies. And the second one is the fact that, because the room is tech, and there could be a lot of startups that are in this room, is to think about what's happening globally. And when we think about what's happening globally, how does it impact locally? Because not everything that impacts globally is coming locally. But we're seeing a number of things. We're seeing e-commerce. We're seeing digital trade, as Waziri was saying. But most for digital commerce, from an e-commerce perspective, we're seeing more social commerce. So Kenya has gone slightly differently in terms of that. So we have to factor that in. We have to factor in that trend. And we're also seeing a lot of value chain. So for us, the question is, our customer, I've told you, younger, what problem are we solving for them from a business, personal perspective? If you're not solving a problem, we don't need to be doing it. Right now we already do what we do, which is keep money, give out money. So we need to think very differently how we garner the attention of the new customer. And we'll have to do that in a number of ways, and value chain is one of them. And I'll give some examples. And as we are doing that, as we need to make sure that our brand continues to be strong. So we still need to be a key lender. We need a place where you keep your money safe. We need to keep the lights on. We need to have people writing emails, but at the same time, we have to innovate. So what we've also done is create a digital financial services hub, from which sprung our platform, Vuma. That was a key game changer in how we wanted to be able to operate. So you have a bank that operates BAU and then the platform. And as Waziri noted, we've been challenged a lot. Some of the stuff we've done, Hustler Fund, we were able to partner with the government and another bank and did it in 2 weeks and launched by December. And the other one is the work we do with counties, where we've been able to innovate for counties, to be able to ring fence their collections, revenue streams, make sure money is coming in, pilferage. So those are the sort of things that we continue to innovate around while keeping the bank going. So I think, Andrew, it's not really a philosophy. First, I would say it's following our customer, what we are seeing, and how do we solve their problems while keeping our lights on.
Thank you for painting that picture. I'll move quickly to Willis. Government entity, so I think the flavor will be a bit different. Twofold for you. So how are you able to stay innovative and adaptable in the environment you are in, being public sector, in the face of constant change? And is the policy posture currently supportive, or there's something we can do about it going forward?
In the board, and I believe in the Ministry of Information, Communication and Digital Economy, one of the things we've taken up is fully embracing the changes, the technological changes that we see. I know for us specifically, we've started the discussion on how to leverage on AIs. I know we had that discussion yesterday. And at the board, we've already started the discussion on how to leverage on AI to communicate better, how to talk to ministries, departments, and agencies on their own ways of communicating better with Mwananchi. So I believe that some of the things we can take up to remain innovative is also create an environment that supports creativity. And yesterday I was happy to hear from His Excellency, the Governor of Elgeyo Marakwet, who pitched and said counties are in need of collaborations and partnerships with the private sector. And I think this also refers back to the national government. There is a need for collaboration to develop, to create environments that support creativity and innovation. When it comes to policy, I don't think Kenya has a policy issue. I think what we have is accelerating implementation. Some of the policies that I know affect creatives in this sector include the upcoming startup bill. We have the science, technology, and innovation bill. The digital master plan itself is a critical policy that we can use to take advantage of the space. I would say that there are several strategies that can be used to accelerate implementation, and they should touch mainly on digital skills. I believe KNBS said that 33.7% of Kenyans who are unemployed are between the ages of 20 and 24. This is the most innovative, the most creative age group that we have, yet a majority of them cannot find employment. So an environment that supports their talents, the commercialization and monetization of their talents will be an added advantage to the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Willis, for that perspective. Let's move to the gentleman. I'll start with you, David. Again, for the management of time, it will be twofold. On the one hand, as a regulator for the media, what sort of top 2 trends are you seeing playing out in the media space? And the twin question, or the other dimension to that is, will you say then there's a blueprint they should pay attention to embrace these tectonic shifts going forward?
Thanks. The first trend I've seen is the tech revolution. I know that's just a general catchword, but in this that as we made the TVs bigger and smarter, our young ones started consuming content on our phones. So we got a bigger screen in the house and all that, but people went to the phone. And therefore, consumption went personal. Well, you want to do something for public consumption, people are very personal. Luckily, because of AI and other revolution, you can now be able to channel content to the person based on what they want to watch and all that. You want to watch Trump, you can get all Trump on your feed. Or you want to watch this summit, you can get all that and leave out all the other. If you want to do the crossword puzzle, that's all you will get ever. So what we are going is that you can do all the content that you want as a media house, but using AI and other technology to aggregate that so that individual consumers get that. So you're in one house, on one Wi-Fi, there's someone who wants news, someone is just sports, someone is just international news and all that. It's no longer that one screen that binds the family together like the dinner table. So that's one, that therefore calls for the content developers to appreciate the work of aggregation, and it is AI-led aggregation. That we can be here, all of us. We have one screen here, everybody ignores, but everyone, because of your gadget, you're consuming whatever you want from one pool. That's one thing. And number 2 is then the monetization aspect, because we are following a crisis of sustainability. And I said earlier, we have moved from then the numbers or the number of viewers or the number of copies produced to the eyeballs. How many people watched which story, and at what point will you be paid by cents, whether it's Kenyan cents or you or dollar cents and all that, so that then the monetization, all of us can be here, watch different things. What has gotten more viewers, the content developer gets a little more shillings than the one who has lesser viewers and all that, and we're not forcing everyone to watch one common screen and all that. So that entire aggregation, AI-led and really private, is what we haven't really realized, so that then we put less and less investment in the public consumed space into a more personal space. I read somewhere this morning that in the coming days, when you go to airports, you walk to the screen, you'll only be seeing your flight and your detail alone. And everyone else walking to the common screen will see theirs alone. That means that they'll be able to pick your eyes and all that, or your features and all that. I think we're moving there into media consumption, where there is general consumption, but what is escrowed or sent into your final gadget from which you consume, is that what you want, and everything is filtered out. And I think that's major evolution that as a media sector need to embrace and think around it other than fight. Thank you.
Asante. We'll sort of make some minor deviation as I pull Eric in. I think on the back of what Chris was sharing, let's think about the startups for a bit and the SMEs. You mentioned that you're helping them on this journey. So how exactly are you doing that? Could you give some examples, Eric, in terms of how you're helping them navigate this digital era?
I think, thank you, moderator. One of the joys of working with startups and SMEs is just being able to see the transformation that comes upon them, or they experience when they begin to embrace digital transformation. At first, the term sounds big and obscure, which is a fault in the tech space we have to correct. But when they get to see what it really does and what it means to them, and you see the transformation, it's very rewarding and it's very refreshing. I want to give a small story of a young entrepreneur that I met and had an opportunity to mentor, and the transformation that they experienced, and this story can scale up to any organization. So this young lady has a company, a small creative company. She's a startup trying to make ends meet. And then she's wondering, how come my business can't grow? How come there's a level I can't reach? Because I know I can help enterprises, but I'm not able to. And so when we had a conversation, we realized you don't need to do any complicated system right now. What you need is, let's look at what digital transformation would mean for you. Number one, can we move away from your private email to a corporate email? We did that. Can we register your domain, Kenik? Just look for the business name that you have, and it's available. All right, now let's make a static website, okay? All right, let's now make a static website, something simple, and hosting platforms, cloud platforms to host such a simple website are so available. It was quickly done. And then he said, your digital presence, there's something about your digital presence, can you just upgrade it a little bit? So change your email signature and just improve it just a little bit. And she did that. And then he said, okay, now the next thing is, let's look at your business. How do you interact with the enterprises? Let's look at templates. You send quotes on email, but in the internet there are templates, business templates on how you can do invoicing and quotes. And so she customized them to her business. And in a span of 8 months, I saw her business move from revenue of 50,000, for example, she'd make 50,000 in a month, in a span of 8 months to doing business of about 700,000.